then the students, and then the students will be able to ask questions and to solve doubts, such as why to work in the sector, what opportunities are there, what kind of studies do I have to pursue, etc. If you are interested in the mentoring program or you want to know more, please go to the link that you will find in the chat of this Zoom session, or go to the YouTube channel of WIA Europe. And just tell you that next month, on the 9th of December, we will have another Women for Space conference with Sara Correiro, who will explain us her work developing an electric propulsion engine. And just next, on the 16th of December, we will have a Space for Change conference with Vanessa Del Campo, aeronautical engineer and film director. As always, follow us on our social media, Instagram and Twitter, or subscribe to our newsletter to be up to date with all our events. And without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker of today, Dr. Laia Ribas. She has a PhD in biology and is a senior researcher at the Institute of Marine Sciences, where she leads her own research team. Her research is focused on studying the effects of environmental factors, such as, for instance, the gravity level in the evolution of fish. A few years ago, she participated in the project Nüwa, which consisted in designing a city on Mars for 1 million people. And in 2023, she will be one of the 9 Catalan women participating in the Hypatia I mission that will take place in the Mars Desert Research Station in the desert of Utah. Today, she will talk about her research to improve the productivity of aquaculture and why and how exactly this is important for the future permanent planetary settlements. If you have any questions, you can write them in the chat during the presentation, and then we will manage them after Laia's talk. Thank you and enjoy the presentation. As I said earlier, many thanks, Laia, for being with us today. And now the word is all yours.
Okay, thanks a lot, Aleix. Thank you very much. So I will share my screen. So I hope that you can see it. This thing here, I don't know how you can remove this. Oh, like this, yes. Okay, so thank you very much, first of all, for the invitation here. It's a pleasure being here, invited by the Women in Aerospace Europe. I'm sorry, the audience, because we are late, we had some technical issues, but I think we will be on time for the rest of your afternoon. So, well, as Aleix said to me, I said before about this nice introduction, I have structured this talk in 3 main blocks. First, I will describe and will talk about Nüwa project. Then I will explain you about some experiments that are currently run in the lab. And then I will explain you the Hypatia I project. So, what is Nüwa? Nüwa is a city that it was designed by I don't know if you can see this stuff here on the screen. I don't know how you can remove this, or you don't see it because it's a little bit blocking. Okay, so Nüwa it's a city that was designed in 2020. And it was designed in the frame of the Mars Society contest, and it was one of the 10 top finalists project. This project was multidisciplinary and international, and it was done by 26 people, all of them that we are gathered by Sonnet. So Nüwa, it was. Oops, working. Yes. So Nüwa has 3 principal designs. So first, this city, when we were thinking about this city, how this city has to be on Mars, because you have to think that Mars is a very hostile place to live. where the environment is very harsh. So there are three main principles. So the first is that this city has to be self-sustainability growth. This is what it means. It means that this city has to be independent from Earth. It has to be their own resources. The second design, or the second principle that we thought, it has to be a resilient city, because as I mentioned before, Mars is very hostile planet, so we have to make sure that we will survive under that conditions. And then it has to be an exciting place to live. Otherwise, nobody would like to change the Earth for living on Mars. No? So based on these three principles, we designed this 1 million city in 5 different locations. Each location contains about 200,000 people. All these cities were named based on Chinese mythology, Buddhas, the Nüwa city, the Fuxi city, Avalos, Marineris, and Ascleus. And 4 cities were located between them in 2,000 kilometers approximately, and the farthest city was up to the north, which is the Nüwa city, the Avalos city. So I will show you some pictures. This is Marineri city. This is designed by the architecture team, Avivu, that it made a very nice work here by designing the city on Mars. And this is the Avalos city, the one that is up to the north, that it's colder there, so we will have snow on the floor most of the time. So how is going to happen this city of 1 million people? So we thought about 3 phases. The first phase, that it's this phase that it will be formed by 1,000 people that will arrive on Mars. And then with this phase will be dependent of Earth, because we will need to, Earth will have to supply us some resources, and these people won't be able to go back. This will take about 10 years approximately. And then after this first phase, we'll have the second phase. The growth is going to be exponential. It will be a semi-autonomous phase where the people of the city, it will be semi-dependent on Earth. So we still will have to depend on Earth in terms of resources, but we will start generating our own resources. It will be, it's thought about 500,000 people. And then the third phase is where we will arrive to the independence. So we will be completely independent as a planet, as a city. So we will have our own laws, we'll have our politics, we'll have our own money system, we will have Mars Parliament, Mars Senate, etc. And this will gather these 1 million people that was designed after 50 years. So once we arrive this exponential growth, we will be able to improve our life quality or have exponential expansion along Mars. So when you want to build some buildings, some structures to live on Mars, the main problem arises for the environment. So if we construct directly on the surface, as it happens here on Earth, we have several problems. No? The problem of the radiation arise, and also the problem of the meteorite impact. So this is a problem while we have a natural light with these structures. And then another option would be to build underground. The underground, the main problem is that we don't have this natural light, but we are protected from the meteorite impact and the radiation. But it's very cost construction under the ground. It's very price. So then what we have to do is to think about other way to build our society, our city, and the solution is on the walls, on the cliffs, on Mars. So the cliffs will give us protection from this radiation and from also protection from these meteorites, but also will give us a light. It will allow us to penetrate the light through this wall. So this is an overview of a city. A section of the city. We have the mesa here, we have the wall, and we have the valley. And I will show you a little bit these 3 different parts of Nüwa city. So the first part is the idea of these tubes, no? That we will construct, we will drill the surface of the cliffs. The cliff will be drilled, and then we will construct, we will put all these tubes. These tubes will be what it's named as the macro buildings. These macro buildings will hold about 5,000 people approximately. So in 1 million people, we estimate that we will need 200 micro buildings, and each micro building, it will have 6 residential models and 6 work models. So these are the models in yellow, and the working models are in blue. And all of these macro buildings that are independent one each other, in the case we need to close one, so they have their own facilities, they are their own services. So you don't have to go out if you don't want from these macro buildings. So living in a micro building is enough for us to survive. So this is another nice architecture of the Cliff of Mars. So here are these mirrors, these cliffs with these tubes, and all of these are the mirrors that we will use to penetrate the light from the sun. These are the mirrors. These mirrors that they will be different one each other, that will give us some design and also some personality, and it will allow us to create these environments that will all this light will go in, and this will have these places that are the green dome, and these will be places for us to do some gym, to camping, to do some relax, some sports, some whatever. And here will be all these tubes. These tubes, they will have a depth of about 150 meters, and the height of this tube will be about 10 meters of diameter. So that is going to be quite a long space, and also because we will have many of them. This is a nice view of this green dome with this plant, this kind of forest here that we will try to have on Mars. And this is a view from inside to outside. This is the Mars view. And these are all these green places that will be able to grow due to the light. And also, of course, as I said, that one of the principles of living and creating this Nüwa city, and if we want to live there, and if we want to have a better life there, we have to have all the facilities. And this is like what we will have here in these tunnels. We will have gyms, we will have shops, we will also have some restaurants too for us to enjoy life. So one important thing that we consider now is that we need to change our way of living, our style of life. And we really have to change the way that we are alone. We are thinking as an individual, as we are commonly used here on Earth. So we have to think about living together in a community. We need to have an equilibrium between the individual, the community, and the environment. And I like these African proverbs that I wrote it here for you, that it says that if you want to go quickly, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And this is actually the base of what is happening in Nüwa. No? So this, I don't know why this is thing here all the time. Well, it doesn't matter. So here, an important step is the education. The education in Nüwa is very important because it has to be quite different. So we want a society that it's equal, that it won't have a gender bias, it won't have a discrimination for culture, it won't have, it will be inclusive. It will be a society that it has to be born from early beginning, when all the emotion, all the emotional and physical is all developed. No? And we have structured this education with 3 main steps. In the first year, the first 5 years when we are born, we have to create this development of children. And then we have another a step from 5 to 16 years, where we will have a strong emphasis on new skills and this teamwork as a community that we are. And then another further step that we want the people, the Martian people, to have a good career, a good professional career. So they have to improve the studies. And we will also, at the the phase 3 of the development of the city. Also, we will have some interchange with professors from Earth University. And also important matters on Nüwa will be arts. No, arts is going to be also important. So here I'll show one of the sculpture that we designed, and they will be around Nüwa. So arts cannot be forgot in this city. So how about this service, the social service? We also thought about the requirements that the city needs. So what we need is that, and we will provide medical insurance for all the inhabitants. So it was a kind of an exercise, and this is what we calculate the number of residence beds for all the peoples, and we calculated that we will need 1.5, so 1,500 beds for 200,000 people living on Mars. So we, in the same exercise, we also calculate the number of nurseries that we will have to have, the schools and the universities. And also, for example, the number of hospitals that are required to hold this city of 200,000 people. So I need to, based on the mean calculation of the world number of beds that are available, we calculate about 880 beds for 200,000 people. That it means is about a mean of 4.4 beds per 1,000 people. That in comparison, for example, to Spain, it will be better improved, because in Spain we have only 3 number of beds. So living on Mars, it will give this a priority in terms of number of beds. So we will have this improvement. And here I'll show you also some calculations that we did about the number of recreational parks that we will have this city. We calculate about 18 number of parks, of places that where the families will be able to go around, to play around, to relax, to enjoy their life. In these places that even fishing, that I don't know if you can able to see some fish here. So how about we have talked about this wall? How about the mesa? The mesa of the Nüwa city is designed and it's thought for the agriculture and power modules. So here is a nice overview, no? A zoom out of the Nüwa city. Here we have the cliffs, and here we are now working, talking about this part. So this part, it has this agricultural part. This part, together with the social part, is where I work more in this Nüwa project. So in the life support system, no, this is what we need for provide food to the inhabitants. What is important is that we mostly will be fed or will be eat vegetable food. So our diet will be based on more than 50% of vegetables. 50% of them will be on crops, and 20% will be based on microalgae. Microalgae are super interesting because they are very easy to produce and they are very high energetic. Then we will have some production of small animals. So we calculate that we will have some pigs, also some chicken and some fish, and this was the part that I worked also in. So we will also be able to eat, for example, sushi in our restaurants. But also I have to tell you that we will have to eat some insects. So insect farming will be 10% of the input intake that we will have. Insects are very important already for on some part of the planet. Here, for example, in China, where they already the production of insect is very important for the diet because they are very efficient animals. And then we also have 50% of this cellular meat. What cellular meat is? Cellular meat is the meat that is produced in vitro in the lab. Already there are about 2 companies, American companies, that they have this technology developed. So the idea here is to create the meat indirectly on the cell plates. And then once you have this meat, you can have a hamburger, for example. You can print this cellular meat by a 3D printer, and then you can get a hamburger with different flavors. So that is going to be one part of our diet, and then 1% of the diet that will be based on other living organisms. So a very important statement that we have to have very clear is that everything has to be recycled. We cannot throw away anything in Nüwa. So everything is difficult to produce. It costs a lot of energy. So here, for example, in the life support system, we'll have these bacteria, the bacteria that will be able to delete, to get rid of all the urines or all the contaminants, to recycle the water to be used for the city. I'll show you here one picture of the agriculture model. The agricultural model, although it's already on the mesa, because we thought about getting the maximum light as possible from the sun, but the sun on Mars is not enough because it's farther away than what is Earth to the sun. So here we will still have to have some LED lights. LED lights that were already calculated in the powder that are needed, the power that is needed to create this agricultural model. So this life support system, as I mentioned before, super important is that the recycling has to be 100%. And one of the nicest things I would say of doing and participating actively in this project is what I learned is that you realize that we are doing very bad things on Earth. No? For example, on Earth, what we threw away is 1.5 kilos per day. This in total per year is 1.3 billion tons per year that we do not recycle. We just threw away. So we are really getting used. We are not using all these natural resources that the Earth is giving us. And another nice thing that we learn is that, for example, on Earth we need 7,000 meters squares to produce, or as an agriculture for each of the person, for each of us. But we calculate that we only need about 90 to 100 meters square to provide enough food for a person based on agriculture. Another nice thing is that the water, the amount of water that we are using on Earth is calculated really here in 100 liters of water per day we use. And on Mars, in Nüwa city, we will only use between 10 and 7 liters of water per day. So the total energy, the cost of keeping one of us, one person in Nüwa is about 37 kilowatts. And how about the rest of the energy? The rest of the energy we will get from basically 58% of solar concentrated. Another energy will be photovoltaics, will be 12% of the energy that we will use. And then I'm afraid to tell you that there was no way to calculate or to provide other energy than nuclear energy. So we will, the energy that will be used to produce and to have this city will be about 30% of the nuclear powders, but they will be very far away from our cities. So the valley is the last the three parts that we will have here. Is this part that is on the outside will be underground, most of them, except from some cupolas here that will allow the light to go through. And in these places, the main buildings like the universities, like the parliaments, they will be built. And there will be a very nice system of galleries of trains that will communicate one city to the other, and also lifts, elevators that will be very high speed with a high technology that will communicate the different parts of the buildings. So now here I had a video. I will play it anyway, but I think you won't be able to hear it because before I connect, there was some you could not be able to hear, but I will play it anyway. Okay, so this is the video that you have seen all the colleagues, no, that we were a multidisciplinary team. So for design a city, different fields are required. So the question would be, what are currently doing now on Earth to create Nüwa? So, well, the thing is that when we compare Earth to Mars, as I told you before, they are very different. No? The science regarding living in space and living on Mars has been done so far for so many years by NASA. No? The NASA has been investigating the physiology effects of this of living in the space, which is named as REACH, space radiation isolation, and also the importance of the gravity. So the problem here, no, so there are these different stressors of the environment that affect the physiology of the human. So based on these different hazards and different stressors, what I was more interested in was to study the gravity effects on living on Mars. So we are what is studying in the lab. So this is what happens when you are on Mars. On the Mars surface, the gravity is different to what occurs on Earth. So while we are walking on Earth, the Mars, due to the gravity is lower, 62.5% of the gravity than we experience on Mars. And then if we weigh, our weight in Mars is also decreased. So, for example, if we weigh 100 kilos on Mars, our weight will be lower. It will be 38 kilos. So this, of course, has different problems and has been studied so far in human physiology. Has been the problem of different systems. The system, okay, I will move this here. So the problem is, for example, in ocular system, the immune system, digestive system, muscular skeletal system. So in different parts of our body, there are problems when we are not in our correct gravity. No matter if it's microgravity, which out of space, or hypergravity, that it's when the gravity it's higher than the one that we have on Earth. So with the idea of studying this effect of the gravity, the idea here is that so living in another place different than the Earth has a toll. And so we need to understand what is happening in the life organisms in order to find solutions. Not only what happens with humans when we are living there, but also with all these organisms that we want them to live on the space, out of space. So this is coming to my second part of the talk, the experiments that we are currently running in the lab. So this is my team that I lead. This is the reproduction team. We are interested in studying the environmental effects, how the environmental effects affect the interaction between the reproduction and the immune system. And the team is composed by 2 PhD students, Tosca and Marcela. We also have an Erasmus student. There is Silvia, the lab technician, and 2 wet technicians that are taking care of the animals, Pedro and Gemma. We are located in the Institute of Marine Science in Barcelona, in CSIC, and apart from space-related science, that is something that started 2 years ago with the Nüwa project. So we have also other projects that are running in the lab. So if you are interested in to have or to know a little bit more about what we are doing in the lab, you can go to YouTube and type this sex in the sea, and here there is an outreach video that you can have. So we are also basically studying the aquaculture related problems, and one of the main the main species that we are studying, our main target species, is the European sea bass. European sea bass is the 4th species that it's culture in Europe, so it's very, very important. It's economically high important species. In Spain, it's one of the first. But we are also studying and using another animal. It's the zebrafish. For those who are not familiar with this animal, this is an animal that it's a lab-based. It's a model animal. It's very, very good to work with this animal because it has a short life cycle, and it has been on its use for different research fields since 40 years already. Here you can have here a picture of our wet lab where we have these rack facilities. So this zebrafish is a very good model also to better understand the aquaculture problems. And also the gravity effects on the zebrafish has been studied so far because it's a good animal model, as I said to you before. So what is known about this model with this zebrafish is that there are some studies about this hypergravity or the microgravity, so depending on what you are studying. So not too many, but few studies are available, and they, for example, have described that if you subject the animals in this hypergravity, you will have also problems with bone formations in a similar manner of what occurs in humans. There are also some studies that they find that the gravity affects the development of the animals, also that they affect the locomotor activity or the heart or the eye. So not too much, but some of them show the importance of the gravity on fish. So how gravity affects the physiology then, no? So one thing that I would like to introduce is that the environment where we live, not only us, also the animals, of course, affect the physiology and affect the cells. So for those who are not familiar with molecular biology, I show you here a drawing about the cell. So you have to imagine this is a cell with a nuclei. And in our cells of the body, we have the genome, we have the DNA, all the genetic information here. The genetic information is transcribed as RNA and then goes out to the nucleus, to the cytoplasm, and then translates to proteins, and proteins, these are related into metabolites. So the important story of this, I wanted to show you here, is that the environment where the cell is living is very important. And one of the environmental factors that we are studying here is the gravity. The gravity is able to give some information by some epigenetics marks, and this is a science that is very, very nowadays is currently very important. And these marks caused by the environment, it will be transcribed to the cell and will change the function, will change the gene expression, will change the function and the phenotype of the cell. So the environment where the cell lives and at the end where we live, it's very important. So in the lab, what we are studying in the terms of molecular levels is the epigenome, so the epigenetics and the transcriptome, the gene expression that are out there due to the environment. So the epigenetics, how you can describe this epigenetics? This epigenetics is defined as the studies that change in gene functions that are inherited in the cellular divisions. So it means that are inherited. And this is why they are so important, because they can be inherited one generation to the other one. And these changes by the epigenetic are not explained by the nucleotide changes in the DNA. So the DNA is not changed, only what is above the DNA. So the idea here of this is a traditional example when you want to explain epigenetics to somebody who is not familiar with. So this, you have to imagine that this is the same person. So baby, when it's born, and then the same person where after their life, at the end of their life. So both have the same genome, both have the same DNA, but they have different epigenomes. Epigenomes is very different from this baby with the same person after living their life. And this is what epigenetic explain, because we are the genes, so we are our DNA, but also we are the environment, we are our lifestyle. So this is very important research, for example, to understand the cancer disease. No, so many diseases are involved. So this is a very important research field. So this is what we are studying in the lab. So what has been done so far with epigenetics? No, this environment, the different environment, the hostile environment that is outside, so beyond Earth. So there are some, but very few studies. And I would say that to our concern, this is the table that summarizes the epigenetic related papers and the space related papers that have been so far in our day, today. No? So the animals that have been used are rats, are C. elegans, also some humans, and some in vitro cell cultures. But to our concern, there is no data available about epigenetics and fish. So with the aim of having information about this epigenetic, the aim is to understand the physiological and the molecular related problems occurred by gravity on fish development. So we will use the zebrafish to understand what's happening under this gravity. And we work in collaboration with Dr. Guillem Anglada, who was one of the leaders of the PI of the Nüwa project, who was the principal investigator from the Institute of Space Science, and also Marcela Salazar, who is a PhD student that is now working also in the ICM. So I will show you now the current job, what we are doing in the lab. This, I don't know really how to make this. Well, if somebody may, Aleix, maybe do you know how I can remove this, because I'm taking out all the time? You help me with this? No, there is no Aleix. Okay. Well, so what we are doing in the lab is the following. We have these animals. We have a pair. We breed the pair. We animal pair. We wait them to clutch the eggs. We collect the eggs. Then we have these eggs here, the zebrafish eggs. And then we have built a gondolas that is rotating in circles to create the gravity. The gravity that we are creating is about 3 Gs, and we leave the animals here rotating in these gondolas for 6 days. So we are studying the early development, the gravity effects that are causing. With this temperature, we leave the animals, we rear the animals at 28 degrees, because this is tropical animal, so we need to live in a quite high temperature. And then after this period, we check the survival, the hatching rate. We also check the teratology, the behavior, the sex ratio, the gene expression, and the epigenetics. I would like to describe here that all these next slide that I will show you is just preliminary data, so they need further to confirm. So in terms of the survival, we have seen some difference between the control and in the hypergravity. So hypergravity affects the survival of the animals. Still, it's not significant, but we can see that there is a decrease of the survival after 2 days of fertilization. And another interesting finding is this hatching rate. The hatching rate of the animals that have been treated with this hypergravity decrease. So the animals, due to the gravity, it's more difficult for them to hatch. So therefore, they cannot survive, or they just delay the hatching. So this is the first time that has been observed that the hatching rate is altered due to the gravity. Then we have teratologies. This is some pictures of the control animal. We have observed, for example, problems in the skeleton formation, because these animals, they have the curved body, or the tail that is completely not well developed, or even the body. The body also has problems, no? So I'll show you here a video. This is a control larvae. It's swimming normal. It's happy in the water. It's not rotating. It's just living happily. And here you have a larvae after subjecting the larvae with this rotation. So you can see that the swimming is not good. It's getting problems, and they have these body teratologies. So one of the other things that we have done so far is study the gene expression data. So this means what the genes that are affected based on the gravity. So if you remember that drawing that I showed you of the cells, so the gravity affects the epigenetics, and then it's also a problem with the gene expression. So the function of the gene is altered. And so far with these 3 genes that we have tested, we have observed an upregulation of 2 genes involved in the epigenetic pathway. And these are the DNA methylation 3 and the TET1. So these 2 genes that are involved in epigenetic pathways and are very, very important are upregulated when the fish is subjected to gravity. So we have now here some findings that in fish, the epigenetic is altered due to the gravity. So now I will move on to the final part of the talk, my 3rd block of this talk, and I will talk about Hypatia I. So what is Hypatia? Hypatia is a new project. Hypatia, it's a crew of 9 Catalan women. This crew is multidisciplinary and multigenerational. And the idea here is that we, as a Catalan women, will travel to Mars. This is a research station at MDRS in April 23. It will be 15 days in the MDRS. We have this name, Hypatia I. Hypatia is one of the, is considered the first philosopher, the first scientist that exists in the world. It's from Alexandria. We have the Hypatia I because we would like to have this continuation. We'll have to have other Hypatias after our mission. So if you want to have more information, we have this website, hypatia.mars.com. You can check the website and look at our project. So the Hypatia it's composed by Mariona Badenas, who is the commander, the team leader. She is a PhD student in astrophysics. She is doing the PhD, her PhD in the United States, in MIT. And also this project, Hypatia, is led by Carlo Conejo. She is the co-PI of the project, and she's a biologist and outreach expert. She works in the Fundación La Pedrera in Barcelona, and she's going to be the executive officer and the field biologist. Then we have Ariana Ferrez. She is the crew scientist of our Hypatia project, and she is a researcher in mathematics, and she works in the NASA. Then we have myself, that I will work as the Green Hub officer. Then we have also Nuria Jar. She is a journalist. She's a freelance journalist. She is an expert in science outreach and science journalist. And she, of course, will be the crew journalist of our mission. Then we have Neu Sabaté. Neu Sabaté is a ICREA. She is a professor in physics, and she will be our crew engineer. Then we have Cesca Kufi. She is an aerospace engineer, and she will also be a crew engineer in Hypatia. Then we have Anna Bach. Anna Bach, she's math and computer scientist, and she will be one of our backup crew scientists and artists in residence, together with Elena Arias. She is a student of mechanical engineering and physics, and she will be also a backup of the crew engineer. So all of us, we have a project, and we have an independent project with the aim of completing and forming this Hypatia. So Hypatia have these main 3 objectives. The first is perform high quality space-related research. As I mentioned you before, when we apply to the MDRS, we apply our own project. So we will interconnect it, and we will help each other, but we will end it up with 7 different projects. It depends on our research interest. And then another aim of the project is to conduct outreach and science communication activities. This is very important, all this outreach, and the best and the most important part of Hypatia is that the Hypatia is born for inspire and promote female roles in models in STEM. So the idea is that we would like to create new reference for young females, for children, female children that would like to have a STEM career, but they don't have reference, because as you might know, the STEM fields do not have a lot of females. So the idea is that we would like to push and to change these statistics and to encourage females in the STEM careers. So this smart dissertation and the MDRS, this is what is this, and this is what is created. It was created in 2001, 20 years ago, and it's in Utah, in the United States, in the middle of the desert. So it's 2 hours far away from the first place that it's inhabited. Sorry, no. So the idea here of the Mars Desert Station is a place where you can do science, no? You can study, you can taste, and you can test space technologies that are relevant and will be relevant for future human settlement on Mars, no? On the red planet. So it promotes space exploration. So what does it have? The MDRS facilities, it has the hub. This hub is a cylinder of 8 meters diameter. It contains the bedrooms and the kitchen. Then we have the green hub, where all the biological and agricultural experiments will take place. This is where the green officer will be responsible for. So, and this is where all the fresh food is growing. Then we have the scientific dome. All the chemical, geological, but also biological experiments are performed. Then we have a module where the repairs and maintenance, that also is a part where we can repair different objects and also work the engineering parts. And we also have 2 ways to observe the sun and the night sky by the telescope mask and the robotic observatory. And finally, we have some rovers that allow us to go outside. So I will here also play a short movie from LATAM 2 that is the crew that Mariona Badenas took part of some years ago. And I will show you by this video what is the MDRS station, what it looks like. So if you want to go out from the settle, from the MDRS, if you want to go out, you have to simulate that you are living on Mars. This is an analogous place, so everything has to be done, and you have to wear this spacesuit if you want to go outside, which is a kind of a weight, because it's about 10 kilos and refrigerated. And here you can see a view of the dome where the rooms and the kitchen and the beds are. This is the green hub, and here all these different structures are connected by these tubes, and this is the scientific dome. So this is in the middle of the desert. So we will be there for 15 days. Okay. So just what I'm going to do. My project is still under construction, but when I was invited to do this project, I thought about doing something for Nüwa and for the life support system, that it's the part of the project that I was more involved. So, of course, as you can imagine, my idea is to take zebrafish there. So this fish that will allow me to do some research, and is the aim or the purpose of using zebrafish is not only because I'm using it as an animal research, but also because it's important as this animal has been used and is used for Nancy Hopkins. Nancy Hopkins is a pioneer in zebrafish research related. She has done many research in this fish species. She has done many mutations. She has improved and she has helped understanding cancer diseases, but also because she has been playing a very important role in the feminism. She has fight for the female rights in research. So I think it's important also for having this animal research based on Nancy Hopkins' background. So the idea here is that I will try to settle on some experiments, that I will try to work with this symbiosis between the fish and the microalgae that I mentioned before are super important for the life support system. And the idea is to study how the environmental factors, like for example, temperature and light, are able to interfere with the development of the fish and the microalgae. So this is the end of the talk. Just take some take-home messages for you. So the first take-home message is that Nüwa shows that it's possible to create a city on Mars, but sustainability is the key to the success. And Nüwa helps to take care of our planet, the Earth. The second take-home message for you is that studying the gravity effects on zebrafish helps to understand and improve physiological problems and improve life support system once we settle down on Mars. Then the third take-home message is that Hypatia I is designed to empower women in a STEM career and to generate novel data on Mars settlements. The fourth take-home message, that is also something that is very nice, that I also would like to give evidence of the importance of that the space-related science needs many researchers of different fields, not only space-related science itself, but also biology, researchers, but also, for example, psychology or even architecture, because we need to create our settlements on Mars, and we need all the different science. So just finally, the acknowledgement, I would like to acknowledge the collaborators, all the SONET members, and in particular also the Avivo Studio, that there were the architecture team. Of course, I would like to thank Dr. Guillem Anglada-Escudé, who was the one who invited me to participate and to be involved in the space science, which is a very exciting research field. Then, of course, the Hypatia crew, in particular Marion and Carla, for giving me the opportunity of being one of the crew members. All the REIT members, that they are working very hard in the lab every day, and in particular Marcela, who is the one who is doing all these gravity experiments. And of course, all the funding that they have that is supporting my research. And then if you want to have or to get more information about what's going on, you can have these websites here. I'll put it here. And just at the end, normally I like to thank the fish, because they are also very important part of my research. And this is not Mars, but this is a zebrafish oocyte. It looks like Mars. So of course, I would like to thank you for being here, and that's the end of my talk. Thank you.
Okay. Many thanks for your inspirational and fascinating presentations. In the meantime, oops, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I don't know how was my time, because I didn't record the time, sorry. So maybe I was talking too much, sorry.
Okay. What I was saying, many thanks. I have echo.
I can hear you well, though.
Okay. Many thanks for your inspirational and fascinating presentations, Laia. In the meantime, that people write their questions on the chat. I want to take the opportunity for making few questions but you already answered most of them that I had in mind. Okay, the first question that I had in mind is talking about 1 million society in Mars. Which are the major lessons learned of this kind of a study? You already answered about the sustainability, but also from a community and society point of view. What do you think that are the major lessons learned as a society?
Well, as a society, I think that the good exercise was this social part, no? That we are doing it very bad here on Earth, no? So we need to. So as I see Nüwa, and it was a good exercise, no? That it is like a kind of another opportunity to create a new society, and because of the environment is very hostile on Mars. We really need to take care of ourselves. So we really need to take care not only about, we cannot take care only about us, it's a matter of all of us. So we really need to share, we really need to be in contact, we really need to be in equilibrium. So we have just a matter of solidarity. So I think this is a nice thing, because nowadays with this kind of style life that we have, we are just losing day by day, year by year, no? So I think this was a nice thing to do. I don't know if this answers the question.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree, because when people ask me what I think about space projects, I say that the key of the success of a space project is a cooperation between people, companies, scientists, countries, and it's something that is larger than just one scope. And I completely agree. I would also to how you value aerospace sector, both positive and negative, and the impact on society that is really linked with what you just explained.
The space sector, to tell you the truth, this is quite a new field for me, because I started to be related to
exactly
space.
For that, because you're working, the only topic that you are working is not space, but from outside, when you start to work in the space field, what do you think that it's necessary to study this kind of field? Why? Which is the impact on society?
Yes, so definitely this is linked to the first question. And what's something that I'm aware of is that we really need to talk more. The disciplines are not connected, and we are now, for example, what we are working in the lab, it's a nice example of what we can do together, an effort of different fields. Because, for example, with Guillem, when he had this magnific background, no, physics and astrophysics background, and then I have my background, and all the backgrounds together, they make a very nice thing. So to me, I think based on the space, it surprised me sometimes that we don't talk enough, because things that maybe are common in other biological research fields, they are not explored, or they are not discovered, or they are not, nobody is making this question. No? So to me now, it's open a wide spectrum of questions that are still not understood, that are still not addressed. So to me, this is so fascinating, no? And this is why I really take much effort, and I really would like to have, and this is a kind of an important research field now in the team, no? Because I think that we can, as a biologist, we can give some knowledge, important knowledge for the space related, and the other way around. Of course, I learn a lot from all of the colleagues.
Just for curiosity, based on your preliminary results, do you suggest to the people to have babies on Mars?
Well, yeah, that's something that was a lot of discussion when we were all the Nüwa team, no? Because we had a very, this is an ethical issue. So this is something that came in our our talks, what happens. No, still we cannot have babies on Mars, and we still cannot have babies on space. And one of the most important is due to the gravity, and this is why I also decided to study gravity, because one of the environmental factor that is difficult to address. Because, for example, radiation, which is also important, we can cover, we can live inside, and we can protect when we are outside. But what happens with gravity, how we can change gravity, and also it's super difficult to manage with gravity experiments on Earth, because the gravity on Mars, no, it's less. So to create less gravity on Mars, it's rather impossible. So what we are doing is this hypergravity, just to study the contrary effect, to have a kind of a protocol, to have a kind of a better understanding what is happening in terms of molecular level, and then send some animals, for example, to space. But for example, more close to the question for example, what I read is that in fish, for example, that they are in the International Space Station. Sorry, they leave the animals there. They leave them breed. They have eggs. They have embryos, and they brought them to they brought them on Earth. So on the International Station of Space, they don't have gravity. So it seems that the animals, they can breathe. It seems that the animal can grow, and it seems that the animal they can live for fish. And the only experiment that has been done so far in terms of breeding and the reproductive success. In terms of mammals, this is more complicated because we need more ethical permissions and ethical regulations. But as far as I read, there has been some experiments, breeding experiments in space, and they had the female rats, they had some miscarriage. So they were not able to have babies at the end. So because they had these problems. So now, if we don't understand the environment, the gravity, we won't be able to reproduce, and it's going to be a problem because we want the people to reproduce and have families there.
Okay, really interesting. I don't know if somebody has a question.
Laia, I have a question. What's next?
Hi, Mariana.
Yeah, what are your plans in like 5-10 years? Where do you see yourself?
What next in terms of experiments on Earth is like my brain is burning.
Where do you see your research going?
Sorry?
Where do you see your research going in the next few years? Because you're transitioning to, to the space sector. You're working at the intersection of biology and the space domain. So what's next and your plans?
Well, my plans, this is just a part of our research. So I'm a kind of a busy researcher nowadays because this is maybe 20% of the main research that we are doing in the lab. But it's growing, and I'm trying to get funding. It's always the most important part. So let's see if I can get some funding, and if I get funding, are we going to push further? So the idea would be to study deeper all this DNA alteration that I show you on this cell, to understand all these epigenetic changes. I think that by giving us this information, it will also give relevant information for production, aquaculture, for example. That what I'm doing in the lab for the last 20 years also is studying this environment, how affect the aquaculture. Because maybe you don't know, but for example, the temperature in fish, an increase of temperature, it changes the sex ratio. So temperature in the climate change scenario increase the number of males in the population. And this is a problem for productivity, for example, because in the case of European sea bass, males are smaller than females, and the productivity decrease. So behind this, there is all these epigenetic and transcriptome and metabolomic issues and studies that we still don't understand, but we know they are there, and can give us some clues, for example, to improve agriculture by selecting those breeders that are the best producers, for example. So for me, it's very complementary, because while I'm studying gravity, I can understand also other environments, how to affect the culture. And at the end, if we really want to settle on Mars and on any place, well, on Mars, that is the planet that is, has more potential to be settled on a human. The idea is to have animals, and I use fish as example because of my background, but I think it's feasible to have also other animals like chicken, and they will also have this gravity problem as us. So by studying zebrafish, that is an animal model, will also give us some ideas of what's happening in humans, because we share 70% of the genome of the zebrafish. So definitely will give us good information.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation. It was great.
Thank you for attending.
I would also have another question, Laia.
Yes.
Since you were a girl, you already knew what you would like to become, a scientist or crew for a space simulation mission in Mars? Or do you have already in mind to be involved in this kind of projects, or just to be scientist is like...
Oh, no, that was just was because of Mariana and Carla invite me, and this was less than a year ago. So I was invited.
For this one, you were already working in Nüwa. You are a scientist with a long career. When you were a girl, you already had in mind that you want to become a scientist or something like that?
Oh, sorry, now I understand your question. Not really, to tell you the truth. I think it's something that I started being passionate about research after university, I would say. When I was in Holland in the lab as an Erasmus student, then I knew that I like and I really like research. It's true that in our country, it's tough, not only in our country, in the rest of the world too, but here, because there is not a lot of invest, it's tough being a scientist, it's tough even if you are female, so it's getting harder. But I think I really like what my professional career, so I will try to encourage female and non-female, so male, that our profession is part of taking part of our personal. So I'm not the person who I am if I wouldn't be a scientist.
Okay. If nobody else has some additional questions, I want to thank you very much for your time, for your effort, for your daily work, to be an inspiration for not just young girls, but for all of us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you soon. Bye.
Bye. Aleix? Hola, Aleix.
Sí, em sents?
Sí. Sí. Espera. Vale. Bueno, l'hem salvada,
Sí. Em sembla que encara estem gravant.
Ui.
Vols recording.